Hello and welcome to this new moon in Taurus forecast with your sun and your rising signs. My name is Sarah Waggle. If you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I'm so pleased. Please feel free to drop comments. Let me know how the full moon in Scorpio was for you, or maybe you're still experiencing some results from the solar eclipse or the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction, all of those things. Before we get into the presentation, there is a little special nugget in this video, but there are chapters. So if you click down here, I believe I do this on the wrong side every time the camera's mirrored. But if you click down here, tap down here on your mobile device, there'll be the chapters thingy that comes up, and you can click and select which chapters you want. They're also in the description box, so if you want a timestamp there. And thanks for those who call out when I mess up my timestamps. I appreciate it. I'm human, so I appreciate that. And yeah, there's a little special nugget video in the middle of this presentation. So anywho, let's get into this presentation. I am loving the energy of this Taurus season. I appreciate earth signs. If you're somebody who happens to be a lot of air and water, as in, you know, maybe you're a lot of Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra, or you're a lot of Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, you know, maybe you can appreciate an earth or a fire sign you know, more than you know, others can. But anywho, this Taurus season is just amazing. It has great energy. Use it, please use it. Invest in the time. Use your senses to experience the earth and earthly things, and indulge if you choose. Maybe not overindulge because Jupiter's present, but I do think there'll be some surprises through this Taurus season, as we do have the planets moving through Taurus, conjuncting Uranus. But I feel like they could be good surprises. It's kind of one of those at this point, you know, at any time, but particularly now, whatever you put out there, you're going to get back. So be conscious of what you're up to, where your energy is going, all of those things. You know, so let's jump into the presentation, and I will be back for your sun and rising signs. And I have the Woodland Wardens, the what are these called? I call it the critters and the plants, honestly. But it's the Woodland Wardens deck. I've got that for your sun and rising signs. I thought it was appropriate for this spring season that we're in. So yes, let's get into it. And I hope you tune into the tea tasting, Zodiac tea tasting, and of course the Admiral Sarah Chronicles are on Wednesdays. So, and of course the regular Moon Astrology Tarot, and I will go deeper into a lot of the aspects and transits during the Moon Astrology Tarot that I publish regularly. So tune into those as well. Thank you so much for being a part of my growing channel. I am so excited. I'm so happy to have you here. So let's get into this new moon in Taurus. All right, welcome to the keynote presentation for this new moon in Taurus. I switched my microphone. I don't know if it's going to be any better. I do notice that my Zoom recordings versus the keynote recorded audio is very different, and I don't like it. I also don't know how to fix it for various reasons. I tried to do screen sharing on Zoom and found some conflicts with that persist. So apologies as I continue to move through growing my own ability to create content, changing up my stuff to the best I can. So hopefully this microphone does a little bit better. I can't promise it though, and I won't know until I download the video. So you can, anyway. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate your engagement. I appreciate you even being here and watching my videos. I'm just so thankful for you. And so let's get into this new moon in Taurus and all of this Taurus energy. Okay, this is the energetic overview for this new moon in Taurus, as well as a good chunk of this May and Taurus energy that we're in right now. It's go time, it's find your discipline time, it's consume accordingly time, all of those things. It's appreciate your senses. Taurus is about sensuality in that, you know, what do you consume or interact with your senses that sort of intoxicates you or or invigorates your senses, like smelling fresh eucalyptus or eating sushi, something like that. I'm sure everybody just kind of frowned, but when I eat sushi, it is literally intoxicating to me. You know, but maybe it's like having the best damn dark chocolate you've ever had. Maybe it's, you know, touching trees or playing in the mud, planting, you know, being around crops, things like that. You know, things that can activate and invigorate your senses. Consume accordingly. This is so important because the one drawback to all this energy is going to be Neptune at 29 degrees Pisces. And we're in this till the beginning of 2026. Yes, I said 6. So the thickest, deepest, foggiest, confusing illusions, delusions of the media, of what's going on in the world is going to be like the most confusing it's ever been. And it's also going to be about like creative adaptability and things like that as we shift things with social media. You know, things in relationships could get confusing and really dicey and whatnot, especially as we continue with the nodes in Aries, Libra until early 2025. You know, things are going to get really weird and really dicey basically until from now, and I don't know for how long. Like, we'll just say 2026 for comfort reasons, but honestly 2026 to 2029 is going to be a whole different level of fun. So we signed up for this, right? So I would say now, if you are considering like a sobriety journey with regards to alcohol, substances, you know, social media, media consumption, you know, sugar, color dyes, household intoxicants, things like that, you know, this would be the time to really, you know, take that sobriety leap, because the more clearing or cleansing you can have of your physical space or your body or your digestive system or whatever, like the potentially smoother this is going to go. But I will say, even, you know, it's going to be weird regardless. Anyway, so just a note of thought. Ground your dreams, bring your dreams into reality, whatever you've been dreaming. You know, we've had the solar eclipse in Aries, we had the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in Taurus in April. So we've kind of got these like, you know, pulls of energy, these nudges of dreams that we really want to like take to the next level. And now it's time to do that. Find your discipline and use it. I got a little nugget coming for you in the next slide. So let's just move on to that, shall we?
Ways I broke up with my victimhood.
It is astrologer and leadership coach here, and I wanted to take a minute to share some of the ways that I have broken up with my victimhood and let you know that I understand if you're stuck. I understand if, you know, your circumstances currently feel like you can't move forward. But since we are in the middle of this incredible Taurus season, and with Mars having just moved into Aries and Venus having just moved into Taurus, we have like some of the best energy that we're going to have to propel ourselves forward in 2024. And so I wanted to share a few of the ways that I broke up with my victimhood over time. This started kind of in 2017 and is continuing. I don't think you ever actually break up fully. But anyway, so let's go over some of these really quick. So I listened to Joe Rogan interview people like Cameron Hanes, Jocko Willink, and then I would go and listen to Jocko Willink stuff, or I would go listen to Cameron Hanes stuff, or I'd go listen to Eric Thomas or David Goggins or whomever, and talk about their discipline. Now, I'm not a bow hunter. I don't know anything about bow hunting, but I've read Cameron Hanes' book, Endure, and I've listened to Jocko Willink. I've also read Jocko Willink's book, Extreme Ownership. And I just kind of started looking at the discipline equals freedom philosophy. And I did all this, and I did all this from my couch while I was like in a dark depression, like thinking that I couldn't do anything to project myself forward. And I just kept listening to this until I got up and got moving, until I was, you know, felt the energy to move forward. So it really does matter what you consume, what content you consume. So I practiced judo and jujitsu as well as triathlon with fifth 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th degree black belts, and triathletes that were Paralympic triathletes. And that was what motivated me to keep going, like practicing judo. It was working with a 7th degree black belt who was a competitive judoka, and working with elder judoka who'd been practicing judo for, their entire lives. And I learned so much on and off the mat about my own discipline and my own like respect and responsibility and whatnot. And triathlon just kept me going. Honestly, triathlon was helpful for judo, and that's kind of how triathlon happened. I had zero interest in triathlon, but I wanted to learn how to run because I knew it would improve my endurance for judo. But judo was so much fun for me. I did it for 3 years. I loved it. Didn't really progress very far because of my own attitude, but judo, jiu-jitsu, any one of those disciplines may be supportive. I have hired coaches over time. They've been the same coaches. They know my bullshit story. They know my attempts at my victim story. So they're able to catch me before I drop too far into being a victim. And so they're able to kind of give me the coaching, give me the redirection to, get back into being at choice, or choosing how I want my life to go, and acknowledging me when I'm able to make that transition to being at choice for my life. I also attended Adult Children of Alcoholics meetings. I didn't do the 12 steps, but I did attend a few meetings while I was living in California in 2019. And I learned a lot about like how much we're not alone. Like we all had, some kind of bullshit circumstance in our childhood or, during our young adulthood or whatever. But it was a matter of somebody saying in that meeting, like, I was so victim, I didn't know how victim I was. And most of us are. Most of us don't even realize how victim we are. And it's okay. And I still, to this day, come back into being a victim. Sometimes I allow myself the space to be a victim just because it supports me. Like I'm able to then make the shift and be empowered and choose how I want it to go. But for many, many years, I didn't choose. I thought I'm blind. I don't drive. I don't have this. I don't have that. I can't make this life happen. And it took, it's taken years of work for me to get myself together to be able to do what I'm doing now on social media, on YouTube, as an astrologer, as a leadership coach. I identify myself as a leadership coach, as in you are the leader of your life. I hope this is supportive. If you're catching this on TikTok, you can also catch my YouTube and hear the Taurus new moon video. If you're catching this on YouTube in the Taurus new moon video, I hope this was a helpful interruption to the regular flow of my slide presentation.
Pause recording. But
all right, these are some of the transits happening this lunation cycle in the month of May. Of course, I've talked about Neptune at 29 degrees Pisces and that we're going to be in that energy from now until early 2026. And then I just wanted to mention too that through May, we do have a lot of minor conversations happening between some of the outer planets that will kind of be an undercurrent of what's playing out in the world. And so I'm not unaware of them. I'm aware of them. I'm not going to talk about them here, not because they're unimportant, but because I kind of like to keep my content at personal development. However, you may be noticing just like an undercurrent of things, mental shifting, mindset shifting, belief system shifting, and all those things that kind of activate or support the personal planet and luminary, meaning the sun and the moon, transits that are happening. On the 13th of May, we have the sun conjunct Uranus. Uranus rules Aquarius. And so with Pluto, even though he's retrograde in Aquarius, any kind of activity around Uranus kind of gets important and more noticeable now. On May 15th, we have Mercury entering Taurus. So we'll have that going on. He's out of shadow, he's out of retrograde. So that's that supportive energy. On the 18th, Venus conjunct Uranus and the Sun conjunct Jupiter. So this could be kind of from the 18th through probably the 23rd. It's going to be about being attentive to overindulgence or overconsumption, and maybe even over exasperations, and things like that. Because on the 19th, we have Mars conjunct the North Node in Aries, opposed by the Moon in Libra. The nodes are now at 14 degrees of Aries Libra, so they're halfway through the Aries Libra cycle. However, Mars is going to bring his home turf, that Aries in the North Node in Aries, independent, interdependent. How do you really want to be in relationships, and what relationships don't support you being who you need to be, or don't support you being independent or interdependent? And this could be anything from codependency to people who want to be too helpful, or people who don't want to honor your needs, as far as if you are somebody who requires a personal assistant or a personal caregiver, are they able to execute things to your standards? Are they able to, like in some cases I've heard of like virtual assistants that just aren't worth it because they can't, they don't do the training, they don't have the quickness, the effectiveness, efficiency that's needed for the job. So it could be kind of one of those situations with this Mars conjunct the North Node, opposed the South Node in Libra. So that's the 19th. The 23rd, Venus conjuncts Jupiter at 29 Taurus. This is also the same day of the Sagittarius full moon. Again, back to that overindulgence. Certainly here. This is the 29th degree. We've talked about this plenty of times. That's the final degree of a sign. And so the potential for overdoing it, overindulgence, over exasperation. I feel like temperatures are going to be kind of flaring by here too, as we move into Gemini season. Like it's going to kind of keep stirring, because Gemini is about communication. Gemini is also fast and quick and speedy and abrupt, and all of that. And so while this transit is happening at 29 Taurus, the sun will already be in Gemini. And so just be attentive to your words and your communication. If you're somebody who needs to practice direct communication, or maybe you need to be less direct and a little softer in your communication, that would be me. Those sorts of things. So to just be attentive to as we move into Gemini season, which will start around the 20th of May. On the 25th, we have Jupiter entering Gemini. Think back to 12 years ago, 2012, or 12 years before that, 2000, and what happened. Wasn't 2000 like the dot-com boom or whatever? That would have been started potentially by Jupiter in Gemini. And then 2012, wasn't there some stuff that happened like with social media and stuff in 2012? I don't remember when like Instagram and all that was founded. But so, as we move more into Gemini energy, and Jupiter's here for a year, however, he's followed by Uranus in Gemini, and that is just going to boom the technology situation. So that's just some of the transits. Stay tuned to my Moon Astrology Tarot videos for more detailed information. Alrighty, let's take a look at this chart. I want to talk about a couple of things with this chart because I can. Of course, this new moon's peaking at 18 degrees of Taurus. It's peaking on May 7th at 22:22 Central Time. If you don't speak military, that's 10:22 p.m. I love that about this. It gives it a lot of like, 2 is a positive number. And so having that many 2s is a pretty good thing. I feel like Taurus is a good earthy energy. So it's kind of one of those like set intentions and get going on them, right? You've got the support of Mars and Aries and Venus and Taurus to support you through it. So I love the energy of this new moon. Taurus is fixed earth, so it's about material possessions. It's also about how you perceive yourself, and your value and your worth and all of those things, and bring that back to the North Node in Aries and your value and worth in relationships, South Node in Libra. So that's kind of that. I do want to point out, I had mentioned the minor conversation with the outer planets. So this is between Saturn at 17 Pisces and Pluto at 2 degrees Aquarius. They have this little half square, which is a 45-degree angle between them. Different astrologers have different opinions about whether these are relevant, whether a half square is a relevant transit or not. I'm mentioning it because I said there was an underlying current, and because I feel like it's important, because it's going to be happening the rest of this year as Pluto moves retrograde. Saturn will eventually go retrograde. They're going to kind of stay in this conversation throughout the rest of this year. And I also thought it was interesting to point out that it was their conjunction in December of 2020. Wait a minute. December of 2019? December of 2019, they conjuncted at, I believe, 22 Capricorn. And then we all know what happened in 2020. And that's when I got into astrology, like head first. I dove in head first. I wanted to know. And I was honestly looking for an explanation for what was going on in the world. And I happened upon astrology and a couple of astrologers who were explaining it in the way that it aligned with what I was feeling about it. And so here we are 4 years later, going, and I just actually took another astrology class and probably going to take another astrology class. I have a few classes on my docket for astrology because I want to learn more. I actually really want to get into medical astrology is probably my next, because I really like the idea of medical astrology and using it to support our physical and mental well-being. In addition to that, I mentioned Jupiter moving into Gemini on the 25th of May and how that's a 12-year cycle. And it was in 2012 when Jupiter would have been in Gemini the last time that I kind of came to the realization that the world we live in was not sustainable for our mental and physical health and well-being. And just that's when it all so it actually started for me. It's kind of funny because when I started learning astrology, I realized that I actually knew energy, even though I didn't know planets at the time. I knew something was up in the world. So if you think about you going through a transformation and your resistance, your ego throws a tantrum, you don't want to experience it, your ego is like, no, right? It's the same thing with this we're in right now, only it's a collective level. So it's millions of people on the planet who don't want change, whose egos don't want change, but they do want change. They just want it their way. So that's where a lot of the conflict is coming from. And then you add the Neptune in 29 degrees of Pisces, which is the most illusory energy we could get for this time and space. Add that to it. You add Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is the community, community, humanity, collective, technology. So yeah, that's kind of an underlying explanation. Also my own story of learning astrology and getting into this stuff. So anyway, hope that was helpful. Hope that made some sense. And if you have any questions, by all means, leave me a comment and I will do my best to answer. All right, let's take a look at this lunation cycle that we're in. Of course, as always, check in with the Moon Astrology Tarot videos that I post here on YouTube on the regular. Every time the moon changes signs is when those videos pop up. I try to keep them within the same region of time as the moon changing signs, but it doesn't always. I do my best. What can I say? Of course, here on the 7th of May, we have this new moon in Taurus at 18 Taurus, which is very close to that Jupiter-Uranus conjunction degree, but beautiful energy. Really use this to set and begin executing intentions, as we've talked about throughout this entire video. So on the 15th, we have the first quarter moon square, which is at 25 degrees of Leo. So that one could be good too. We're waxing at that point. To a full moon, to a really beautiful full moon, but we're also intensifying in a lot of undercurrent energy that I've kind of talked about throughout this video as well. So as always, check in with my regular videos. On the 23rd, we have the full moon at 2 degrees of Sagittarius. This one's going to be really interesting. It will be aspecting Pluto. It also comes with Jupiter moving into Gemini. And so just a lot of around the 23rd through the 25th is a lot of rapid changing energy. A lot of different movements happening, but I do like the energy of a Sagittarius full moon. It's a fire sign. It's ruled by Jupiter. So, I mean, yeah, that could be good. On the 30th, we'll have the third quarter square moon at 9 degrees of Pisces. I mean, luckily it's at 9 degrees Pisces and not, towards 29 degrees of Pisces, but it's still a third quarter darkening moon, so it could really be intense by then. And then on June 6th, we have the new moon at 16 degrees Gemini. I think there's something special about this. It is conjunct Venus, but 6-6 on the 16th, conjunct Venus, I mean, that could be really beautiful to set some beautiful intentions. But remember, Gemini is mercurial, and it is about communication and mindset. But Gemini is an air sign; it's intellectual, all of those things. So, the next couple of lunation cycles, I really like the energy. It's super supportive, provided you use it to be supportive versus getting lost in the weeds and what's going on in the rest of the world. So that's the lunation cycle. All right. As always, thank you guys so much for being a part of my YouTube channel, my ongoing astrology practice, and whatnot. Of course, you can catch the Moon Astrology Tarot videos, the Admiral Sarah Chronicles. Yes, I do Star Trek, but whether or not you watch Star Trek is almost irrelevant because I really pull it back to emotional intelligence. The most recent episode, I believe, was about law of attraction, and things like that. So I really relate it back to, I make it science nonfiction. So yes, it's the episode, but it's really about what we can gain from watching science fiction or science nonfiction. Zodiac tea tastings, of course, you can catch those also on my TikTok. The Taurus teas were amazing. I really think the final video for Taurus season tea tasting will be empty bags, to be honest with you. They were that good. That's good because, yeah. Okay, you can book with me, although I am redoing my programs right now. I'm redoing my services because I want to have some low investment offerings as well as some higher investment, more intensive offerings. I am redeveloping them as I continue to grow and evolve and take more classes and practice my skills, not only with astrology, but with coaching and whatnot. But if you are really ready to dive in and get intense about your natal chart and working through it, then reach out to me. We'll make it happen. So yeah, and let me just jump down to joining the Awakening Spirit Collective, because that's where, if I do launch new products, they're going to know about it first. That's a paid platform. And so I do monthly zodiacal season overviews over there. There's multiple practitioners over there. There's a journaling specialist. There's a chakra dance instructor. She's actually hosting a retreat this summer in Upper Michigan at a location that I've been to, and it's gorgeous. So lots going on with the Awakening Spirit Collective. And again, because that's a paid area, that's where I will be dropping new stuff first. So if you're wanting to work with me or another practitioner, that's where I would send you. But the other place you can go is the Hearts Unleashed podcast with Abigail Gazda. You can also find Abigail Gazda here on YouTube, Abigail Rose Gazda. And she has tons of stuff on emotional intelligence. She has meditations. She has this podcast that I was a guest on. Tons of stuff going on with Abigail. Her and I have been friends, colleagues, coach and client. We've had every relationship in the friendship area of things for 8 years. I've been working with her. She was actually the coach I hired when I was about to be a nomad, and she was our first coaching session was when I was on the train to California. So So Hearts Unleashed podcast, of course, the episode link is below if you want to hear that episode. But as always, thank you all for being a part of my channel, for the growth of my channel, the thriving of my channel as I continue to evolve and grow and expand and all that. I just really appreciate y'all being a part of it. So please keep leaving your comments so we can keep boosting the algorithm and that I can just know that you're here and present and hearing what I have to say and all that. I'm kind of just an Aquarius sun nerd who loves astrology and loves Star Trek and all of the stuff I do. I do it because I love it and I appreciate you being a part of it. So thank you. Let's move on to the sun and rising signs. Alrighty, welcome back to your sun and rising signs portion. I hope you enjoyed the keynote presentation. And so let's just dive right into this because I think I've said everything I need to say. So Aries, this new moon in Taurus is in your second house, which is about self-worth, finances, self-love, material possessions, things like that. And so, it may be something to where you've probably been through some stuff over the last month with all the energy in Aries, in your first house. So I feel like, you could be ready to, maybe reevaluate or set some intentions or some goals around money management. Or around your self-worth. Maybe you're going to renegotiate some of your relationships around your self-worth. Maybe it's reevaluating the material things that you have in your home around your self-worth. So let's see what's up with the critters and the plants for Aries. We got the fox and the ivy, and this is about adaptability. Yeah, some things may be changing up in your world based on just conclusions that you've made around your self-worth or who you are or who you're being in your life. And so I feel like this is definitely speaking to that. You're adapting. How do you be adaptable? How do you renegotiate relationships? How do you renegotiate, what stuff you have in your house? Are you feeling like you need to minimize and downsize and, get rid of some things or invest in things in your home or things in your space that are more in alignment with how you want your life to go moving forward. So that's what I got for Aries. Taurus, this new moon in Taurus is obviously in your first house. And, with all of the energy that moved through Aries last month and is continuing to move through Aries, we do still have Mars, the North Node Chiron in Aries. It's really, Mercury, I guess, is still there too. It's really like, you've kind of been through some sort of like subconscious shifting or maybe even a spiritual shift or something like that, but you've got Venus and this moon and sun, obviously, and the Uranus, Jupiter still in your first house. Like it's really, maybe Taurus are being surprised by just how the hell their life is shifting all of a sudden. And in, could most likely beautiful ways that you're like blown away by it. And so I would say just be with the mind blowing, momentum, set intentions around how you want to be moving forward. Again, this could be about relationships or items or just yourself, how you want to show up in the world, how you want to maybe have a makeover, maybe you want to update your wardrobe if you've been through, even a personality shift or a spiritual shift, like I said. So definitely, maybe you want to upgrade your jewelry or upgrade your hair or, whatever, however that looks for you. And it could be about like workout routines too. Like maybe you want to start, getting more into shape or something like that. And that could really be shifting you, to change your appearance or change just how you're being in your world. And it's all about like you and how you are in your world, how you show up in your world. So for Taurus, we got the opossum and the peony. Bashfulness. Ooh, that's interesting. A little backwards from what I just said, but I think that kind of points to like Taurus is being a little bit shy. And, maybe you don't want to present it all to the public just yet. However, it's kind of like use this Jupiter, Uranus, Venus all in your first house to, and even like the Mars, Chiron, North Node still being in your 12th house, maybe it's like still doing some behind the scenes stuff, but you're like maybe in like a month or two, you're gonna be like ready to, show the whole world this new version of yourself. Yeah, I think there might be still some behind the scenes stuff going on that may be having you be a little bit bashful. However, I think it's also an opportunity to, work towards breaking down those limiting beliefs or those limitations that you have about yourself to really present yourself, in this whole new version of yourself moving forward. That's what I got for Taurus. Gemini, sun and rising. This new moon in Taurus is in your 12th house, along with all of the other Taurus energy, Jupiter, Uranus, Venus, and then you've got a lot of 11th house energy with Mars, Mercury, North Node, Chiron in your 11th house. And I feel like there's, this preparation happening for Gemini. And I feel like they've been doing this for like the entire year. But I think like as the energy has moved through the zodiac towards Gemini, and now this new moon in your 12th house, it's like this final, subconscious shifting or renegotiation that's happening for you as you prepare. You've got about 2 weeks or so before maybe a little more than that. Yeah, a little more than, well, roughly 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks before Jupiter will move into your sign. And then we'll be obviously in Gemini season. And I think that, that's when we'll see like Gemini's really shine is, you've done a lot of behind the scenes work and a lot of mental shifting and a lot of subconscious shifting. And this new moon in Taurus is really kind of grounding that for you. Geminis can be a little flaky, a little airheaded. It's okay. I'm not meaning that negatively. I'm just honoring that that you're like the flakiest air sign, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I think that this new moon can really ground some of that, spiritual transformation that you're having, and prepare you for, shining like the Gemini that you are. Like there's really nothing wrong with being an Aries Gemini. And I think that's something that kind of we all can accept, is there's nothing wrong with being whatever sign that we are and showing up however we are to the world. So you got the bobcat and the black thorn. And this is patience. Yeah, this is pretty accurate. I feel like Geminis, they're like ready to blossom, ready to bloom. And I think it's, because this new moon and this loaded Taurus season is in your 12th house, I think you're still kind of being like restricted a bit, a little held back a bit. And maybe you're holding yourself back. Maybe you're allowing yourself to be patient, but Mercury is still in shadow, and Mercury is your ruler. So, until the middle of May, you may still feel like you're a little bit not ready to move it all forward. However, I think it's also like feel into what you still need to be patient about. And maybe it's that till Jupiter moves into your sign. Maybe it's till Mercury is out of its shadow and into Taurus, which will be in the next like 7 to 10 days or so. So I think it's just kind of hold on. But at this point, like set intentions as if you are setting the stage or preparing for in the next couple of weeks or so, you're going to be feeling that urge or that desire to start moving things forward. So I got for Gemini. All right, Cancer. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your 11th house, groups, communities, technology. However, we still got all of that Aries energy in your 10th house of work. So it could be that you like shifted your work situation and therefore you've changed up maybe like your interest in technology, or something about your job was inviting you to invest in some technology, or maybe it's like you've gotten a new job and it's shifting your group, your friend group, your community, how you get involved with your community because of your job. I mean, there's such fuckery going on with the job market right now, that it could be really inviting you to get involved in some sort of community service program or community action program, to support, people trying to get a career. Maybe you're a recruiter, but also could be something around technology, and maybe it's something around, creating a portfolio on Upwork, or creating a portfolio for Indeed or any other job search-ish website or job, like the freelance websites, things like that. Maybe there's something sort of inviting you to take a step forward in creativity, to really broaden your career opportunities, to bring in some extra side hustle money, or even shift your career trajectory. Like I said, it has something to do with groups, communities, technology. So, something to do with your career, with all the 10th house Aries stuff with Mars there, North Node, Chiron. You're really wanting to make some shifts around your career and your long-term goal situation. In Cancer, you got the Ram and the Dahlia, and this says determination. Yeah. And I think it's interesting that the Ram, because the Ram is Aries. And I was just talking about like the Aries energy being your 10th house of career, long-term achievement and things like that, and being determined. You're very determined to shift your career. You're very determined to shift how you earn money, how you, build your foundation. Maybe, like I said, I feel like this goes back to that whole idea of like a freelance situation or a podcast, or maybe it's a Discord group or I don't know, something like that, that you're building a group or community around, or participating in a different way in the group or community or technology around your long-term goals. Maybe it's just you're reevaluating your long-term goals after that solar eclipse and after the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. These are all kind of working together to move you in a whole different direction as far as your career goals and your public participation in groups and communities. So I got for Cancer. All right, Leo, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your 10th house of long-term goals, public appearance, public achievement, could be career goals. But you've still got a lot of 9th house energy with that Aries situation with Mars, the North Node, and Chiron, and that's in the 9th house. So it's I feel like Leos are wanting to make a shift into something else, and there may be like some hesitation involved, or there's no hesitation and you're like, fuck it, I'm done, I'm going this direction. Like there could be some career changes happening for some Leos. Just really like, maybe even awakening to a new opportunity, or awakening to broadening your education, to, step into a whole new career role, or a whole new, trajectory of your long-term goals. And they could be just completely dramatically shifting as we move through this Taurus season. Shortly after this new moon, we will have the sun with Uranus and then the sun with Jupiter ultimately. And, that happening in your 10th house with the Mars coming up on the North Node, like there's just like potential for you to shift or change, or long distance travel to try something new, or maybe you need to take a trip to gain some spiritual perspective, or gain some philosophical perspective that's going to open up an opportunity or a surprise opportunity even for a whole new career path or career trajectory for you. So be open to what potentially could, open up for you, Leo. Y'all got the Frog and Lotus. Well, yeah, Lotus, spirituality, metamorphosis. Yeah. Leos, what's going on? Leave me some comments. I want to know what's going on with some Leo sun and Leo risings, because this is like spot on. And I have a client who's of Leo rising, and yeah, this is like what he's going through right now. And so I have zero doubt that there's other Leos out there, Leo suns and Leo risings, that are experiencing some sort of metamorphosis. There's something completely opening up that's shifted for them, that they're like, I don't even give a fuck about that old job, that old career. Those goals were a different version of me. I've grown into this version of me, and it's time to completely shift your goals, move them in a completely different direction. You're evolving, you're changing, and your career goals change with it. So be with that, allow that, open yourself up to that, and see what pops up and what surprises come along the way. So I got for Leo. I love that for Leo. All right, Virgo, this new moon is happening in your 9th house, which is long distance travel, philosophy, belief systems. Then you've got the Aries energy of intimate partnerships, money, intimate money, like shared money, taxes, things like that. And something, are y'all ready to travel? Like, I feel like Virgos are about to travel, or maybe move across country, or move between countries. Be prepared for some surprises, be open to some surprises that could open up for you around, shifting your philosophies. Maybe it's developing a whole different relationship with God, source, universe, Gaia, however you word that for yourself. Typically, though, 9th house is more about like dogmatic religious or philosophies or things like that, but it doesn't rule out the idea that you could be shifting your relationship with trusting the philosophy, trusting the belief system, verbalizing it or something to that effect. But also there's something to do with money or intimate relationships with money, or physical intimacy or something like that. Maybe you're going to move across country to be with the partner that you've met through the internet. Maybe you're going to be relocating because you and your partner have been living apart, and it's time for y'all to live in the same, meet me halfway across the sky type situation. So, I feel like just something to do with some travel or philosophy, belief systems, surprises in that way. Maybe you're going to get a teaching job or a professor job, because that does include like higher education. Maybe it's a whole new education opportunity for you. Can be exciting to see what's going on for Virgos. Y'all got the bat and what is this? Hellebore? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but we're going to say hellebore. I don't know what that is. This is intuition. And the word hellebore is Hellebore. Hellebore. So if you want to look that up, you can. But intuition, hell yeah. Virgos, here's the thing. And this new moon and a lot of these things could be trining a lot of your Virgo placements. So it could be very supportive of you sort of grounding or pulling down to earth. Like, if your intuition is heightened as fuck, it may be this opportunity to feel it into your solar plexus, your sacral, and your root. Trusting God, source, universe, through whatever maybe struggle or limitation that you have around travel or education or otherwise. It's really like, feeling into that North Node, Mars Chiron in your 8th house. That's about intuition, psychic potential, things like that. And I think with the Taurus energy, with those harmonious trines happening for you, it's really an invitation to trust your intuition, trust that when you say yes to the event, yes to the opportunity, that God's going, yes to it, and then take action, make the communications happen, make the do all the things you need to do, but trusting that as long as you're taking inspired action towards the thing that you want, that God, source, universe will constantly be opening opportunities for it to happen. It may not go the way you think it's going to go. And I think that's where a lot of people get hung up on, that control situation is like, well, it didn't go the way I thought it was going to go, but it happened. And I think it's opening yourself up to trusting your intuition, trusting that God has a plan that's going to make it go the way it's meant to go for your highest good. That's what I got for Virgo. All right, Libra, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your 8th house. You've also got still a good amount of energy in your 7th house, which is Aries, where Mars, North Node, Chiron, Mercury still are. And then, of course, you have that South Node making its way through your 1st house, which, of course, I think at this point we're halfway through the nodal cycle, and it will be done by the beginning of 2025. But until then, you've still got this releasing situation happening with relationships, or acknowledging your codependency or dependency on relationships. And then the North Node inviting you to, be a bit more independent or interdependent in relationships, as that may go for you. And then this new moon in your 8th house, it's kind of like you're acknowledging intimacy in your relationships, or maybe even some surprise money in intimate relationships, or a surprise like a surprise investment opportunity or something like that. It also could be so if you're in a new relationship, maybe it's a surprise like physical intimacy opportunity that could arise for you. Could also be some just psychic potential here, of course, and feeling into maybe some energy that's coming through. But yeah, it's really with Libra right now, because of the nodes and all of the energy in Aries, even though it was like this is a really beautiful like Taurus time in your 8th house, it's a lot to do with relationships and how you are in relationships, and if they're going in the direction intimately that you want them to go, or do they need to be renegotiated, or is there, again, it could be a surprise. It could be a surprise relationship opportunity, a surprise change in intimacy, a surprise change in finances, something to that effect. So let's see what the cards got for Libra. The Weasel and Pine. Introspection. Oh, I mean, yeah, that South Node in your 1st house, it's really kind of this moment in time to like, are you being who you really want to be in relationships? Are relationships going the way you want them to go in relationships? This is friendships, this is intimate partners, this is investment partners, this is all relationships. Are they going the way you want them to go? Are you constantly wondering why they're going the way that they're going? If all your if not all, but like, I don't want to make a blanket statement, but if a lot of your relationships are going in a direction that you don't like, you have to look in the mirror, unfortunately. Right? Do some mirror work around it, do some self-reflection, do some inner work around how you are in relationships, because that could have a lot to do with how they're going the way that they're going, or why they're going the way that they're going. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to look in the mirror and be like, oh, fuck, I'm the problem. Right? And I get it. I've been there, right? I have been the problem. I promise you, I've been the problem. And really had to look myself in the mirror and really see what part of me, was showing up in relationships. But I think this is really important as you move forward. And that's part of the South Node being in your sign, is really taking a look at who you are and how you're showing up in relationships, and maybe reevaluating with yourself or reassessing with yourself. Maybe it's an opportunity to do a lot of inner growth, inner child wound healing work. Maybe some therapy is in order, or relationship coaching or something like that. So that's what I got for Libra. Speaking of relationships, Scorpio, sun and rising, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your 7th house, which is all about relationships, and probably some surprises or shifts and turns, and interesting things have been happening for you with relationships ever since the dang it, I keep saying that, the Uranus Jupiter conjunction in April, and then of course we have the Scorpio full moon later in April. And this new moon in your 7th house, along with the energy still in your 6th house with the Mars North Node, Chiron, Mercury still in your 6th house, like you're kind of reevaluating your day-to-day routine, or your how to maintain, how not only maintain, but like welcome in new relationships. However, I don't know, Mercury in Aries, I have really had to watch my tongue. But it's because, there's always that risk with Mercury and Aries of like spouting off at the mouth, and Scorpios are really good at that anyway. So we don't really need help in that department. But maybe you said the thing that needed to be said in your career, or in your job, or in your friendships, or in your even in your partnerships. Maybe you said the thing that needed to be said in order for the relationship to actually make a change, and shift. And maybe for you to shift your part, how do I say this, so that your partner could understand what maybe was frustrating you, or what maybe was going well for you, or whatever, so that they can see what needs to change in the relationship. But I do think with this new moon, it really is about relationships. It's about partnerships. It's about balance. It's about you developing supportive routine, supportive health goals that can allow you to welcome in the relationships that you want in your life and moving forward. I mean, Scorpio's, been through some transformation recently, and Pluto and Aquarius in the 4th is this like welcomed opportunity to be a whole different version of you. But sometimes to be that different version of you, you've got to still continue to let some gunk out. But I feel like this is really just all about relationships, new relationships that that are shifting, because you're shifting, and therefore the people who you have around you also must shift. You got the elk and ash, and this is strengths. What do I feel about that? Strength. Having the strength to be full on you, having the strength to clean up your messes if you spout off at the mouth, having the strength to allow relationships in, having the strength of protecting your energy, having the strength to, like just be yourself among other people, and have, like I said, it's just all kinds of ways of having strength to be yourself, but having strength to allow in new relationship opportunities to come in. It feels like there needs to be, like, I don't want to say a softening because that's so anti-Scorpio, but I do feel like there's like this, there's obviously something happening with your emotional well-being, that's allowing you to open up the space for relationships. And that requires some strength to allow that to occur. So that's what I got for Scorpio. Sagittarius, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your 6th house of work habits, daily routines, health habits. And then you've got a lot going on in your 5th house of childlike playfulness, inner child wounds potentially, and maybe even just being more creative, heart-centered, those sorts of things. And I feel like, maybe something opened up for you during the eclipse and the Mercury retrograde, in your fifth house, that kind of opens up an opportunity for maybe a new creative project, or that's going to shift your daily routine, that's going to allow you or invite you to shift your health habits or shift your work habits, or something to that effect. I think it's important for Sagittarius to remember, with Saturn and Neptune in their fourth house, like things are shifting with your home environment, with your emotional well-being. And that is going to spill over into your creativity, or wanting to be more heart-centered or follow your heart's desire, or, a shift in your work-life balance. And so I feel like now we're in this new moon in Taurus, and with Jupiter, Uranus, and Venus there, it's kind of like, how do you want to go about your daily routine, or your health habits that really supports your creativity, or that supports you feeling fulfilled from your heart center. That's what I'm feeling for Sag. And y'all got the quail and the gooseberry. And this is anticipation. The anticipation of shifting all these things, and the anticipation of the result of honoring your heart, honoring your heart's desire, and the anticipation of what that could open up for you, what that could bring for you, and the opportunities therein. I really love this for Sag, because I think like Sages are making a lot of changes that are sort of directing them towards a whole like different life, in like they're in, allowing them to feel safe to be emotional, and allowing them to feel safe to follow their heart and their creativity, and their health goals, or their work journey, or whatever. So yeah, I think this is about anticipation. This new moon is going to lead to a full moon in your sign later this month, that really could allow you to make some major changes that, support your health, support your creativity, support you following your heart, those sorts of things, even support you in having a little bit more emotional well-being support, such as it needs to be. So I got for Sag. Capricorn, sun and rising, this new moon is happening in your fifth house, which is all about heart's desire, childlike playfulness, children. It's also potentially trining, and in fact, Venus, the new moon, Uranus, Jupiter, any one of those things could be trining, which is a harmonious, supportive transit, any of your Capricorn placements. So this really could be supporting you in grounding in to your heart's desire, grounding into your creativity, grounding into, maybe having children, or, being with your children. Of course, all of the Aries energy with emotion, with your fourth house, could be, triggering some emotions around your home life, your foundation, your family, your, situation with your mom, or something like that. And so, but I feel like this is a good creative time for you. This really could be about like grounding in your goals, and like grounding in your creativity, and actually like, putting out there the artwork that you've been working on, or the music that you've been working on. Maybe you're going to be working with children, or having children, something to that effect. And so you got the sheep and blackberry, and this is devotion. Yeah, like it's reevaluating your relationship with your children, or with your mom, or, your relationship with your creativity. If you're devoted, like what, maybe it's like, an opportunity, you've devoted your time to creating, you've devoted your time to your family, and there's like a surprise, happening with your family, or a surprise in your creativity. Maybe if you are launching your creation, that, you get a surprise, like, I don't know, you go viral. You never know, you go viral. But I feel like this is really good for Capricorn. Capricorns really do like to work. And so I think it's like a, really excellent time to really be devoted to the work that you're doing. Maybe that's even like upping your education about it or something like that, that increases the stability of it, and really grounds it in that much more. Again, there's definitely some supportive energy between Capricorn and Taurus, or both earth signs. And so there could be some real harmony happening between your Capricorn placements and the Taurus energy that we're experiencing. So I got for Capricorn. Aquarius, sun and rising. This new moon is happening in your fourth house, which is all about home, foundation, family, maternal or mother issues. Although it's, and on it being Mother's Day, that's kind of interesting for Aquarians. Something could be coming up about your mom, or with your mom, in celebration of your mom, or celebrations with your mom. So that's interesting for Aquarius. This could also be your home, your foundation, your communication. Maybe Aquarians, you were the ones who had the highest risk of like spouting off during the Mercury retrograde in Aries. And so maybe, it's cleaning up a miscommunication during that retrograde, or maybe it's, speaking your truth with Mars coming up on a conjunction with the North Node. Maybe it's, verbalizing your truth to your mom, or verbalizing your truth to your children if you're the mom. So something about your home and foundation, something about, emotional intelligence. Maybe you're going to express your emotions. Aquarians like digging into that warm, fuzzy feeling, or the not so warm, fuzzy feeling, such as the case may be, for whatever emotion is coming through. Maybe your anger is going to come out. And you got the Mouse and Buttercup, and this is innocence. Oh my. Freshness. Innocence does not necessarily have to mean innocence. It could mean freshness. Buttercups are, fresh. Mouse are just curious critters. They like to explore different things. But the freshness of like when the buttercups bloom, like we all know it's spring, right? I think there's some, like, maybe there is some emotional innocence. If you're an Aquarius who hasn't really experienced or felt your emotions, there could be some just natural naivety around expressing or feeling emotions. What is this? What am I feeling? Am I crying? What is this about? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're one of those like Aquarians who doesn't experience emotions or doesn't have an emotional attachment, now all of a sudden you're going to, and it's going to be like one of those like, what is this experience? It makes me think of Lau from Star Trek Next Gen, Data's offspring, when she started to experience like fear and anger, and she just didn't know how to process it, right? She had this pure innocence about processing these low frequency emotions, right? It's the same thing with like joy and happiness. If you are somebody who's never experienced joy and happiness, I didn't for years, right? I didn't experience joy like on a regular basis for most of my life. And like when I did, I was just like, oh my God, am I okay? You know what I'm saying? It's okay. You have this emotional detachment as an Aquarius. It's a natural part of an Aquarian's being because they're mostly intellectual. And now you're like experiencing emotion and you're like, what? Huh? What? Ooh, what? How, is that a feeling? Do I feel something? Right? I'm kind of presenting this facetiously, but I think it's really serious because if you've not experienced higher frequency emotions like joy, contentment, happiness, if you haven't allowed yourself to experience them before, it really could feel like a jolt or a shock to your nervous system. Like, what is this? What is this about? How do I take that? How do I make sense of that? sort of thing. So I feel like this could be good for Aquarians. I think as Pluto continues to, I mean, Pluto's retrograde, but as Pluto continues to move through Aquarius, you know, Aquarius is going to be like the nerds that are finally welcome to the party based on the fact that like they need our technology nerdy skill. They need our nerdy perspective, right? Our intellectual perspective on things. And so we're kind of like welcome now. And they, you know, anyway, I'm talking about them, like the rest of the zodiac who doesn't understand Aquarians. So anyway, that's what I got for Aquarians. All right, Pisces, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your third house of written communication, siblings, thoughts, thinking, mindset, things like that. You've had a lot of energy in your second house of self-worth, finances, value. And so there's potentially been a lot of shifts or surprises in money matters or in how you perceive your self-worth. And now maybe you're going to write a book. Maybe you're going to write a closure letter. Maybe you're going to communicate with your siblings in a different way. Or maybe you've got like a mindset shift that's going to bring you to the next level in some area of your life. But certainly something related to mindset, written communication, you know, like I said, potentially with siblings or family, you know, something about like, you know, your self-worth and how you are maybe treated by your family, by your siblings that has to do with your self-worth, something to that effect. And Pisces, y'all got the raccoon and sycamore. And this is curiosity. Yeah, maybe there, how do I want to feel about that? You're curious. Maybe you're curious about your newfound self-worth. Maybe you're curious about your, you know, what to invest in with maybe a surprise in your finances. You're curious about how to write some, you know, how to create, how to write the thing or communicate the thing, the message, get the message across. Are you sure this isn't happening in my third house? But I think there's definitely something about like you've had a shift in your self-worth, you've had a shift in your finances, and now you're like ready to kind of portray that or somehow get that out to the rest of the people in your world and shift how those relationships or how that is communicated with other people. So I really like this for Pisces. It's kind of like a natural curiosity of kind of maybe exploring outside your comfort zone and being, of course, open to surprises. So that's what I got for Pisces. And that's what I have for this new moon in Taurus. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. Again, as always, thank you to the new subscribers. Thank you for all your likes, your comments, your engagement. That's really helpful and very much appreciated as I continue to grow this channel. It's just lovely. I love doing this work. I am reworking how I offer services. Give me a little time on that. As I've been kind of working through my own like growth spurts and stretchiness and whatnot. And so yeah, I'm working on some stuff behind the scenes that will probably launch before the end of June, I would say. Just how, like what services I offer, how I offer them, readings and astrology and coaching and all of that. So if you are interested in working with me, drop me a comment if you've been waiting and you're like, Sarah, when are you going to get your shit together? Please know that I am working on things behind the scenes at my own pace, and maybe I need to amp up my own discipline and get my shit done. So I appreciate you. Thank you for tuning into my videos and interacting on them and whatnot. Thank you as always, and I will talk to you on the next video. Bye.